Welcome, everyone, to our LinkedIn Live. I'm Bruce Eckfeld. I'm your moderator and host. I'm going to introduce our topic, introduce our guests, and then we'll get going. So our topic today, a fun one. The title of our program today is When the Unlikely Person Takes Over the Family Business. So we're going to talk about succession. We're going to talk about family businesses and what happens when we have change of control, change of ownership, change of leadership. Obviously, it's a big topic in the business world and the family business world. We're going to talk about some of the dynamics and some of the things that you can do to make it go right, some of the things you want to avoid in terms of go wrong, and just some of the things you want to consider. I think as we get into this, people will find that this is a fairly nuanced and can be sometimes a little complicated when it comes to kind of all the relationships and the dynamics and the business and leadership. So excited by this. For those that are watching on LinkedIn Live, if you want to leave a comment, go ahead and put a comment in the LinkedIn page there. We will see that. We'll try to weave it into the conversation. We are also streaming on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, go over to LinkedIn. If you want to leave a comment, I'm not going to be watching the YouTube comments. If you're watching a replay on either of those platforms or any platform, go ahead and leave comments and questions there. We'll watch the comments and questions in the coming days and weeks, and we'll try to get back to people on those things. So even if you're on the replay, go ahead and throw those out there, and we'll catch it. So without further ado, let's introduce our guests. First up, I've got Kathy Overbecky. She is a leadership coach, academic. She's a family business expert. She grew up in a family business, and so she knows firsthand the complexities and challenges of succession and transitions. And today she focuses primarily on next-gen leaders through that complicated dynamic of family business enterprises and their transitions. So with that, Kathy, welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
It's a pleasure. I'm excited. Next up, I have Stephanie Stuckey. She is chair of Stuckey's, the iconic roadside brand founded by her grandfather. And though not the heir apparent, she brought back the business and is now leading it through its revitalization with a blend of nostalgia and innovation. And she is hard at work right now delivering orders. So we're lucky to have her here today. Stephanie, thank you.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here. Welcome to Candyland. And I apologize. I've had my hair in a hairnet since 6 a.m. We are completely backlogged today. So
I can imagine.
Just running around filling. We just had someone come in. They want 25 orders. They'll be back in 15 minutes. And so I hope the team, we're understaffed. So anyway,
those are good problems.
Running a small family business.
The challenge of success.
I am not doing this solo. I have wonderful business partners. My main business partner, he and I own 90% of the company, R.G. Lamar. He is our CEO and couldn't do it without teamwork.
Yeah. Let's get a little bit of each of your stories on this, because I know you both have personal relationships to this topic and stuff. Stephanie, let's talk about you first in terms of give us a little bit of background of how you got to where you are today, because I know this was started by your grandfather, but it wasn't necessarily a clean, obvious transition for where you are today. Give us a little bit of color.
Well, like most family businesses and small businesses, our history is a little messy and complicated. My grandfather started the company as a small roadside pecan stand during the Great Depression in rural Georgia. And he grew it from that to, at its peak, we had 370 stores all over the country. In almost every state, we were on every major highway. Yeah. And we were known as a roadside stop where you would pull over, you'd find clean restrooms, you'd find gas, you'd get a quick hot meal. We had like a little counter where you could get hot dogs and hamburgers and pimento cheese sandwiches and lots of kitschy candy and toys. And we always made pecan everything. Pecan snacks, raw pecans, pecan candies. We're best known for our pecan log roll. So we were really synonymous with taking a road trip for a certain era of Americans, really like the 50s, 60s, 70s. He sold the company and lost control when I was a little girl in the mid 70s. And it was out of our family for decades. 5 years ago, I had the unexpected opportunity to buy the company. Yeah. It was for sale. People are like, oh, how did that come about? No, it literally was for sale. It was 6 figures in the red. There are only a dozen original stores still around and operating. We do not own or operate those stores. And several of them have seen better days. And so we had to figure out how to reinvent the brand. And we bought a manufacturing facility 3 years ago in Rennes, Georgia. And we are now making pecan snacks and candies and selling to thousands of retailers. And we're slowly, diligently just at it, trying to bring this brand back.
Yeah.
That's it in a nutshell.
Okay, I've got a bunch of questions, but I want to hear from Kathy first. So, Kathy, give us your relation to this, because I know, similar, you were related to a family business, but had a little different kind of transition or
very
process for
different
you today.
experience. Right. Yeah. Yes. So I was born into a plastic manufacturing company that was owned by my father and his two brothers. And it was a great company. They started from nothing, and they grew it into, I don't know, at one time they had 7 manufacturing plants.
Wow.
Their products were mostly industrial, but my father and uncles did invent the hula hoop. So,
wow.
familiar product. And also the push-pull bottle cap, which used to be a lot more popular, but it still exists, largely on soap bottles and drinking bottles.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
those are the 2 products that most people know about. Others are, but my dad had 300 patents, which was really pretty amazing since he was a self-taught engineer. In any case, the doors, I never even thought that I belonged in the family business. I started working there when I was 13 years old in the office as a secretary.
Yeah.
And that was the only door in the company that was open to me.
Yep.
And I didn't even know that I wanted any other doors open. I was born in early 1950s, and, women just didn't lead plastic manufacturing companies. And if they did, they would never catch a husband. So, it just wasn't going to happen. So anyway, it ended up, I started and sold 2 companies of my own. So I learned that I did have some businessmen, and I tried to get into the door without any success. Yeah. So then things happened and made me realize what a disadvantage that was.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to learn more about family businesses and why so many of them failed after the first generation. Yeah. And also I wanted to understand more about the daughter's role, because you never hear about that.
Yeah.
Or at least then we never heard about that. So I went back to school when I was in my late 50s. I went to Case Western Reserve University. They had a unique program called the Doctor of Management program, which was a practitioner scholar program. It was meant for people who had been leaders, senior leaders, for at least 12 years and wanted to do research and learn how to do rigorous scientific research. That's what I wanted. I wanted to learn more about family businesses and daughters. So I entered, and I published a few studies, wrote some book chapters, and then I started my family business advising practice. And then I was invited into a really exciting project, a book called The Sixth Level, which was about women and leadership and how women lead based on the ethic of care, and that it is a profitable way of leading. And later on, I hope to read you just a couple of lines that Stephanie Stuckey wrote in this book of her leadership, because they are just so inspiring. So that's my story.
I love it. I love it. And Kathy, your video is just a little schizophrenic. I don't know if I don't know if other people. If you try turning off your video and turning it back on and see if that fixes it. Okay. Stephanie, I want to come to you. Like, when I'm curious, like, why buy? Like, why get back involved in the business, right? I mean, this was not you weren't entrenched in it and having to take it over. Right? This was a conscious choice to actually purchase it from these other owners. Like, what was the motivator in there?
Well, my whole life with the last name Stuckey, people would ask me, "Oh, are you part of those stores?" And they wouldn't just say, "We love the stores." They would say something very specific. They would share a story. And it was emotional. It was family. It was taking road trips. It was these precious memories. And I loved the way people's faces would light up. And they when they talked about what Stuckey's did, just like what the hula hoop, right? I mean, when you said hula hoop, I'm like, oh my gosh, what an amazing part of
people
American
find
and you know,
50s.
right? And
Yeah.
so, and the hula hoop wasn't just the hula hoop; it was everything that it represented. It was an era, and it was, but it's still like my daughter used to love to hula hoop. She would go for like 8-10 minutes, and we would time her. And so she at one point she wanted to do the Guinness Book of World Records, and then I can't remember what it was, but it was out of her league. But the whole idea is that these shared experiences is what binds us as Americans, and so many of these special brands that meant a lot to people are gone, and they've been bought out by large corporations, which is what happened to Stuckey's. They've been diluted. They private equity, and listen, I'm not anti private equity. No. It has its place, but you lose some specialness. And I thought, well, this is worth saving. This was something really cool. And how often do you get a chance to buy your family's business back? And I thought, well, maybe if we can do it, and I don't know if we can do it. People say, oh, you're a comeback brand. I'm like, no, we are a coming back brand. Like every time we make payroll, we all high five one another. We're like, yes, we live to see another day. Let's see if we can pay people next payroll. And yes, we have put things on our personal credit cards to make sure that we pay the invoices, and we've had creditors send us notices. Like it's hard. There's a reason why more small businesses are filing bankruptcy now than ever. It is hard, but I would love to just be able to figure out how to do it and maybe inspire others. And it's just so worth it. It's just building community.
Yeah.
So I just did it. I took a chance. I'm still taking a chance.
Kathy, I want to ask you, because I think this highlights one of the dynamics or one of the challenges of family businesses when it's not just business, right? It is family. There's legacy, there's connection, there's history. How do you kind of approach or advise or kind of, tease apart these kind of businessy kind of issues versus the family and legacy issues? Like how does this come up for you and how you think about this space and the people you work with?
That's a really good question. And a lot of people know about the three-circle model of family businesses, where you have the family, the business, and ownership, and they overlap. And so that helps to understand part of the dynamics of family businesses. But I use a different model called the bullseye model, which contains that, but it also includes all the outside influences about the community and the government and the world, the global perspective, because that includes many of the dynamics that are hidden in that three-circle model, which is about opportunities, about which children get opportunities in the business. How are they selected? Who benefits from the business? Okay, so that's one way that I analyze a family business, but I rely heavily on research. One thing I learned going through my family business experiences when it started to decline is that lots of people have lots of opinions about family businesses. And I wanted to know from a scientific perspective what really works and what is just opinion.
Yeah. And
so some of the factors that research reveals are, one, a shared vision. And secondly, family harmony. That surprises people, but that is a success factor. And I'm sorry about my video.
Yeah, it's okay. We can hear you fine. So
okay, good. And so those are the two, and the other is collective action. How do people think about the we instead of the me? So those are the three principles that I use, but mainly building on shared vision, because that kind of brings together all the dynamics without going to all of the problems. Where do we agree? What values in particular do we agree on? What do we want our company to evoke? What are those values? So that's how in a nutshell, that's how I approach it.
Yeah.
But I start with helping each person develop a personal vision.
Yeah.
My belief is you cannot create a shared vision until you know who you are. and what's important to you, and how does the family business fit into that profile?
Yeah. You sound my relationship therapist. Like,
Oh,
you can't
okay.
really fully participate in a relationship to figure out who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Stephanie, I'm curious how I guess what other parts of the family were involved in this decision around getting back in the business? Was this you personally? How things have played out? I mean, are you connecting with other parts of the family? Like how does the family dynamic play out for you?
Yeah, I think it works because I am the only family member.
Yeah. Yeah.
I reached out to other family members. No one else wanted to do it.
I'm curious what they said. Was this like, yeah, I'm
They
not
said, go
interested,
for
but
it.
you go for it?
You go for it. You do it. That's great. Yeah, you sink your life savings into
Yeah.
buying this hot mess. And even my father was like,
Ooh.
you can't do that. My father said, you don't know what the hell you're doing. And
Yeah.
I'm saying it politely.
Yeah.
He said emphatically, this was a very bad decision and I was ill-equipped to do it. I'm an attorney and I was also a state representative for decades. And so I had a very different background and had never run a company, but I had led teams and I knew about advocating for tough causes. That's what I'd done my whole career.
Yeah.
So but I think what's really important, and you see this with family businesses that have survived generations, is you have to have non-family members, like unless you're a super small company. And so bringing in outside people is critical. And for me, that was a lifesaver. I will also say, I think it's really important, even like me, I'm the only Stucky in the company. So I am extremely mindful that it's a family business and that my grandfather started it, but I'm the only family member. So I don't talk a lot about family or heritage because that's only relevant to me.
Yeah.
And it's kind of self-centered for me to be talking about, oh, well, Big Daddy, that's what I call my grandfather. Big Daddy would have liked that. Well, he wasn't anyone else's Big Daddy.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's important to stress that it's so much bigger than family, regardless of whether there's 20 family members or there's just one, that if you truly want to build a team, you got to make sure you're including everyone. And they don't all have that connection to family like the family members do. So for me, that was an easier transition because I'm it.
Yeah, you didn't have to navigate. In fact, it was probably the reverse. It would maybe it would have been nice to have a little bit more support from the family and some of this stuff. I guess how does the fact that there is this family history or connection to it for you, how does that help you? Right? Does it give you insight? Does it give you passion? Does it give you like a bigger vision? Right? Like, because this certainly feels more than just like I want to make some money kind of play here. Right? There's an intention here.
If I was in it for the money, dear God, I would not have done it. But having said that, listen, we're a business.
Yeah.
I mean, my father called the other day and had a fairly lengthy order for gifts for family members. Well, I want this Christmas tin, that Christmas tin. I said, Dad, we're for profit. This is not a philanthropy. This is not your personal gift shop that you can just order. This isn't like when you're a kid and you go in the Santa shop and you pick what you want and somebody else is paying. I'm like, give me your credit card number. I'll give you the family discount.
Yeah, which is 5% more than everyone else.
By the way, just because you have the last name Stucky doesn't mean you get the discount if anyone's watching.
Yeah.
But I have to remind him that we are a for-profit, but it is easier to focus on not just the family aspect if there are a lot of people who aren't family members with the company. You've got to make sure that the work is relevant and that people are passionate about what they do. And everyone's got to find their own inner motivation. My inner motivation is in part the fact that this was my grandfather's company and my grandmother's. And I think about them every day. But I fully recognize that does not motivate anyone else in this company.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's okay. And then I've got to make sure I understand what is motivating them and feeding their passion. And a lot of people here really are innovative and want to see new ways of making candy and snacks. And so you got to meet them where they are. So, okay, let's talk about innovation. Let's talk about how we modernize this brand. Let's talk about how we make it relevant for people who were born past 2000.
Yeah.
So, but that's the only way this brand's going to survive. I can't just be thinking about Big Daddy. That's not going to bring the brand forward.
Yeah. Kathy, I'm curious what you've seen in businesses, in family businesses, when you have non-family members in senior leadership positions or even potentially ownership positions in some cases. Like, how do you navigate that dynamic? Like, what are the kind of best practices, or what are ways that you kind of frame this to kind of help separate out, okay, so certain people have family connections, maybe some people don't, and how does that change decision making or how you approach challenges or planning? What are some things you've learned there?
Well, sometimes it is easier when there is a non-family CEO. Then the family members really heavily rely on that person, but you just have to be very careful about who you select, and that they are imbued in your values. So again, I rely on the shared vision. And I would bring in the non-CEO into that discussion. First, build it with the family, and then bring the non-family members into that discussion so they contribute.
Yeah. And what are are there any kind of good governance practices around this? I mean, you kind of already talked about separating out management from ownership a little bit from the family. Like, are there good kind of ways of kind of approaching their frameworks that you help family businesses in terms of, being able to kind of create these spheres of, okay, this is where we talk about these things. This is where we talk about these things, and kind of separating out some of those issues?
Yes. So as far as governance is concerned, the most important thing is to articulate what is the governance system for?
Yeah.
Because frequently it can be a rubber stamp. Boards are known for not very bold and creative. So you have to be very careful about saying, why do we have a governance system? What is it supposed to accomplish? That's the key. Once you have figured that out, then you can structure it in a way to meet those goals.
Yeah. I'm curious, Stephanie, on your side, any kind of issues or decisions or situations that have come up that have kind of put you a little bit, trying to balance kind of the business decision or kind of pure business issues with kind of your, kind of the family or a connection to the family, or thinking through, like, what does this mean from a family point of view? Like, is there any good examples of how you've had to balance these things or navigate some of those, harder decisions?
And I'm sorry, we have a customer in the store who's trying to buy something. They don't know how I input it in the inventory.
I love the real time.
So,
this is great.
Like I said, we are slam-a-lama ding-donged here. So how I navigate.
Is there any examples where you've kind of, any examples of where you've felt conflict, or where the issue of sort of the family kind of goal, or your connection to the family side of this versus the business side of, where like it was from a business point of view, you'd want to go this way, but that may be in conflict with what your bigger picture is from the kind of family connection here.
Well, first of all, I would say the beauty of what I've done, and I know quite a few family businesses have done this. They just buy out everyone else. That is an absolutely good, smart strategy in some cases.
And why? Like, what does that do for you then?
Well, I don't have to really, like, I can listen to family members, but I don't have to listen to them.
Yeah.
They're not co-owners. They're not co-workers. It's just me.
It's input. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate your opinion. Lots of people can have opinions. It doesn't mean that, they're not as involved. Now, having said that, I'm totally open if there's a family member who says, yeah, I want to do this. But I think an example of sort of the conflict with me and I'm looking it up. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do two things here. I know you got the customer in the store. I'm looking it up. uh, should we renovate the stores? Should we focus on stores? And we just didn't have the money, and it was really hard for me because I'm emotionally attached to the stores. But we knew that we really weren't. That wasn't a pathway to profitability. So to navigate that and pivot and embrace the change that we're focusing on manufacturing, which is really the way my grandfather started the company.
Yeah.
So it's still true to our roots, but that's probably the best example. And sorry, I have to do this price.
Yeah, do go look it up. I'll talk to Kathy.
I would like to offer a different perspective
go ahead, Kathy.
ownership and having just one owner. The research on that is really inconclusive, and a lot of people believe you have to have just one owner, and that actually can lead to a lot of problems. And as I grew up with my father and his two brothers, they really figured out how to share power. So I know that it can be done.
What do you think they did? Like, I'm curious, is there anything you observed in how they worked together, how they communicated, how they made decisions? Like what allowed them to be successful?
Well, first and foremost, they had an unarticulated shared vision and shared values. They didn't call it that. They never wrote it down, but that's what it was. And secondly, they had an interesting decision-making model where there was a lot of trust, but let's say two believed one thing and the third person believed something else. If that third person really was, if that was really extremely important to them, the other two would go along with it. So it wasn't just majority rule. It was, I don't know how to describe it, but they understood that sometimes you have to try what the odd man out is thinking.
Yep. Yeah. Openness to different ideas, different opinions, being willing to not dominate all the decisions every single time. So, being more collaborative.
Right. So that, you have to use that sparingly, that idea that there's one person that felt strongly. You can't always be that one person who feels strongly, like you said, and you can't dominate it. But that was their decision-making practice. And I think that was unique and it worked. Yeah.
Anything else you've noticed in terms of either organizational structure or decision-making processes that help family businesses kind of balance this is really the right business decision versus this is a family interest, thing. And we're going to figure out how to navigate those two things. Maybe we're going to do things that maybe don't make as much sense for the business, but make sense for the family, and make those trade-offs and being aware of that. How do you help navigate that?
Well, again, it goes back to the shared vision. That is your framework. When you articulate what is the purpose of the business, what are the values of the family, what are the values of the business, and then when you make decisions, you can measure it against those factors.
Yeah, I do. I've worked with a couple of folks, and I do find it's very different when you've got, say, a $10 million business and there's maybe, two brothers or something, or a brother and a sister, or maybe a father and a daughter or something. Like it's a smaller business and fairly tight versus I talked with a gentleman a couple of weeks ago who is third generation. They own 7 different businesses, total revenue of like $1.2 billion, right? There's like 38 people in the family involved in these different businesses. I mean, in some respects, that was actually easier to figure out than the small one. How do you kind of put companies on the gamut of, hey, look, we've got a small privately held company with a couple of people in it versus a real family enterprise that has multiple businesses with, dozens of family members involved? Like what's the gamut for you on that?
Well, here again, you have to have a framework that covers both any size business. That is really the underlying factor that you can make all your decisions against those.
When do you need to get that framework in place? I'm curious. Like or how does that framework change when you go from this kind of, small, just a handful of people to I really have multiple generations, multiple businesses?
Yes. Well, it's a question of how then do you create a shared vision when there are so many different people involved. And the best thing is if everybody, all the family members have an opportunity to work with somebody to develop that personal vision first. And, some are going to be more extensive than others, but everybody has a chance to talk about what does the business mean to them and what do they think is the purpose of the business. So when you get that and then you bring them together, you can have a discussion, you can do it. Sometimes it helps to do it in writing first.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can compare and contrast, because when you have in writing, then you can find themes, and then they can discuss those common themes. That's typically how I do it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it sounds like building a charter for basically any organization or initiative is like, okay, you got to hear everyone out, get everything on the table, sort through it, find the patterns, find the common ground, negotiate agreements. We're going to hit time here. This goes about.
I'm so sorry,
quickly.
y'all.
No, that's fine. Did the order get out?
I guess that's the more important
question.
Good.
I'm good. I'm glad you're busy. I want to make sure people have contact information. Stephanie, if people want to find out more about Stuckey's, more about the products, what you're doing, what's the best to get that information?
First of all, come visit us. Yeah. We got a candy outlet store in Rennes, Georgia on US 1. It's a town with population 2,000, and you would not believe how slammed our store is. We had a woman who drove 2 hours from Atlanta today because she read about it, and she was in town for 3 days, and she rented a car and drove.
That's amazing.
So we get a lot of people. We get groups, we get tour buses, you name it, school groups. So, I mean, we're just slammed. So come visit us, Rennes, Georgia, Highway 1. You can't miss us. There's 2 red lights. We're at the second red light.
Awesome. We'll put a link to Google Maps in the show notes here, so people can
Main Street, Rennes, Georgia, Highway 1. www.stuckeys.com. Give me a little grace on the website. I also manage the website and do all the marketing.
Of course you do.
I'm doing all the packaging design and all the publicity, all the PR. So just a few things I manage, but the website, we've had issues because we've been out of stock and the inventory tracking system's messing up.
Oh boy.
Anyone here really can help us with inventory tracking? Reach out to me. It's not syncing with our inventory system, so the web keeps showing in stock and out of stock. That's off. But come on the website. If there's problems with the website, you can email me at sstuckey@stuckeys.com. You can also contact me on our website. There's a contact form. And if you say, hey, get this to Stephanie, I will usually get that message within a day. And you can also message me on LinkedIn. Yeah. I check LinkedIn regularly. And then I'm on Instagram, Facebook, X, and TikTok when I think about it.
We'll make sure all those handles are on there, and highly encourage everyone to go on and order. I think you've got a little time before the holiday season. Probably we got a couple weeks.
Oh, we're churning out the orders, and in person you can come.
There you go.
I mean, we're open till Christmas Eve. I mean, people are coming by, and they're coming in, and they're like, I want 50. Can you make this for me? I want 50.
There you go.
And so then I'm like, okay, we'll make 50. And then I go back in the production. Can I have a case of white chocolate now? So
good, sweet. Awesome.
Yes.
Perfect. And Kathy, if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get that information?
Either generationplanningstrategies.com, or my email address is Kathy, Kathy, at genplans, GENPLANS.com.
Great. I'll make sure all the information is on the LinkedIn page there. And yeah, if you want to get a hold of me, bruce@eckfeldt.com is my email, and just eckfeldt.com URL. And then obviously LinkedIn is great for all of us. Stephanie, Kathy, thank you so much for taking the time today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. And Bruce, let's do it again when it's not crazy season. Kathy, thank you for all you do. It's very inspirational. Really grateful for your leadership in this space.
My pleasure, and thank you for joining. And thank you everyone for joining the program. Again, if you watch the replay, go ahead and leave comments and questions. We'll watch those in the coming days and weeks. Happy holidays, everyone, and we'll look forward to seeing you in 2026. Take care.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.